would you look at that? I have returned from my shelter, my cave. That is the GB Gaming Podcast. Cave. Where the fuck am I going with this? No, it's been 2 months and 1 day exactly since I did an episode of this podcast, and I've got reasons. I have been occupied with other things. You know me, my attention span isn't the greatest. I always find something else to do and then I'll go and do that, and then I'll get distracted by that. This happens a lot. If you don't know me, then I don't know what to tell you. This is what I do. You know, this is normal to me. I'm always finding other things to distract myself with, and then I'll be honest, I was actually getting quite bored. Not bored. Bored is the wrong word to use. I just couldn't find something to stick to talking about, because this sounds a little bit selfish, I guess, but I honestly can't find... It's like, see, I like to balance my podcast topics with... I like to balance between relevant stories that I find interesting to talk about and stories about me and what I've been doing. I like to balance both of them out, but because most of the gaming news at the minute has been revolved around that of the modern consoles at the minute, the PS5, the Xbox Series, you know, things that I do not have and therefore cannot really talk about objectively. I know opinions are subjective, but at the same time I can't even have an opinion if I can't talk about it, if I don't have the thing to experience so that I can talk about it. You know, I can't join in the conversations is what I'm trying to say. So there's a lot of things that I just completely avoid or can't talk about, and as a result I've got less content to work with. But if it's been any consolation, I haven't really been playing much in the last month or so. Maybe in the last 2 months. I haven't really been doing much in regards to actually sitting down and playing video games. I mean, I've played a couple of games here and there, but that was only for other things. I'll get to that in a minute. But if this is your first time here, then we've got a lot to cover. Well, not a lot, but we've got a couple of things that I'd like to talk about, and then I'll get to what I've been up to the last 2 months. But like I said, if this is your first time here, then welcome to the GB Gaming Podcast. I'm Dave, your host, and this is GB Gaming, where video games come first. I'm also on YouTube. I'm also on other things as well. Like, you can find me on mostly YouTube. Most of my content is on YouTube. I do more than just podcasting. I do video reviews, let's plays. Like I said, we'll get into all that, but there's a few things in the news in the world of video games that I want to talk about, and that's what I'm going to start with today. So, first topic I want to talk about is, I guess we'll get the eFootball stuff out of the way, because I don't want to sit and talk about sports all episode, or even not even for more than 5 minutes, or hopefully I can get this out of the way. But anyway, as we all know, there is a new football game developed by Konami coming out pretty soon, as I speak right now. It's called eFootball. It is the new incarnation of what used to be Pro Evolution Soccer. This would have been eFootball Pro Evolution Soccer 2022 before the naming convention was revealed and changed to eFootball, and that's what it's called now. Some gameplay footage was revealed in the last day or two, and it features a match between Manchester United and Arsenal. The footage is like recorded on a TV screen, and just going from what I see on this video, the visuals are quite nice, at least from, even if the footage is like raw, guerrilla, amateur footage from a camera to a TV screen. I can see that there's at least better lighting put in and better texture detail on some of the players and even the grass as well. I know that sounds completely insignificant, and it's probably because it's being played on a PlayStation 5, which I think was said on the article. But overall, it just looks like another Pro Evolution Soccer game with improved animations, and I guess I'm only going to really know how it plays once I get a hold of it myself. The game is coming out on the 30th of September, if I'm not mistaken. And it's coming out for free. Now, if it's the 30th of September, that's kind of weird. That's a Thursday. I always thought games would come out on a Friday or a Monday or a Tuesday, but I never thought I'd see games come out on a Thursday. But nevertheless, at the very least, I'll get to play it for free, and I reckon it's going to be a bare bones experience. I'm probably not going to stick to it because it looks like they're going to focus on the game's their variation of what Ultimate Team is. Cannot remember what it's called. My Club, I think it's called. That's all one word. My Club. Not really a fan of it, but if you're a fan of it, then you'll probably dive into it head first and you'll enjoy it. But I'd say I probably will wait until the Master League is inputted into the game as DLC before I properly dive into the game, because that's the only reason I play Pro Evolution Soccer. It's the only reason I'm going to play eFootball, and this isn't going to be any different. But overall, it does look fine. The animations look pretty good, if not a little bit wobbly, if that's the best way I can describe it. The players look... It seems natural enough, but it's hard to see. As I can only go by what I'm seeing, but I can't really say what it's like unless I actually play it. One thing I did notice is that the camera now zooms in and out dynamically as the game is being played. I'm assuming that this is an optional camera mode, but I like it when companies innovate on different features and change different things for people to try out, and this is definitely one of those little features, this little subtle feature that I'm going to try out, the camera, the dynamic camera. I like all that. It's only been recently since I decided to play these games with a full authentic broadcast camera. I never used to play it like that because I always found it really difficult to change my orientation with the analog stick, and it would be confusing, especially when you were playing football games before 360 analog control was brought in. So when it was just 8 directions, it was very, very difficult to play these games with the broadcast camera angle, but that's what I've been playing my football games like as of late. But this new dynamic telecamera, as I like to call it by default, it's pretty cool looking. I like how it zooms out when the ball is out of play or wide up the pitch, and the closer you get to the box, the more the camera zooms in. As I said, I also like the texture detail on the grass. Little things like that I really take notice of, and I really like it. And I'm all for it. It looks good. The visuals look good. The gameplay, can't say for sure. Looks fine. Going by the way it's being played, it seems okay. But I'm only going to really know once I get a controller and play it myself. That's the only way to tell what this game's going to feel like. But it looks fine. It's another football game that's not FIFA, and I'll probably get it. I will not be buying FIFA this year. Like I did last year. I'm keeping up that because I played FIFA 21 and I only played it. I had the trial, the 10-hour trial that I got last year, and it only expired recently. That's how much I bothered to play FIFA 21 this season. I did not buy it. I played the trial version, and even then, I didn't actually play 10 hours. What happened was I must have played about 3 hours in total, and I think I might have left the game paused or turned on when I went out to work, because when I came back, there was only 5 minutes left in the trial, and then it expired. And I'm like, oh well, it's fine. I don't really intend on sticking with this anyway. I've fallen out of love with FIFA. I have been doing the last couple of years. It started with FIFA 19, I think. It started with FIFA 19 where I just started to get a little bit sick of the same... Take it from a FIFA fan. I mean, I've been defending it. I was a defender of FIFA for a long time. And I still am of the games between FIFA 08 and FIFA 11, I want to say, or FIFA 13 or something like that. Like, it was after FIFA 13, FIFA 14, after the next gen PS4 version, Xbox One versions of FIFA 14, FIFA 15, where it started to just feel like, something needs to change, because I'm seeing the same heads-up displays, I'm seeing the same user interface, it's not being changed that much, the same animations are being used. The only difference I'm seeing now is maybe a different heads-up display depending on the league, new jerseys, and new stadiums, new leagues, and new roster updates. All cosmetic differences. Nothing really to stand out to make the game innovative. You know, nothing to say, look at how different this FIFA game is compared to last year's FIFA. So, because of that, I fell out of love with FIFA. And Pro Evolution Soccer is not that much different. You know, it has really kind of been the same thing, where they don't change much between game to game. But I like playing football games every year, and I've got to pick one. I can't just keep playing FIFA. I would prefer to play Pro Evolution Soccer nowadays, because the gameplay has gotten much better since 2014. Ever since the PS4 generation has came into it, Pro Evolution Soccer has gotten much, much better. The methodical, slow-paced style of football that game presents appeals to me more than the speedy, like ADHD style of FIFA, which I've just grown to just not enjoy that much anymore. Don't get me wrong, I will try out a FIFA game every year and I will play it for a bit, because it's embedded into me that I will take enjoyment out of a FIFA game at some point. But if I want to play a game long term for a full season, I will stick to Pro Evolution Soccer. And eFootball, I don't know what that game's going to be like once it's out. I don't know how they're going to bleed out all the content. I just don't know how it's going to be done. This is very new, but it's something that I've always wanted. I think this is what they're doing, where they're just going to call it eFootball, and they're going to improve on the game gradually as the years go on. They're just going to update the rosters every year. It's going to stick to the same game, and it's just going to be like a roster update every year. I've always wanted that. I've always said, get rid of the year and just call it FIFA or Pro Evolution Soccer, and just give us updates every year. You know, give us the season 21 to 2022 update. Give us the season 22 to 2023 update. Just do that. You did it with Pro Evolution Soccer 20 in 2021. You can do it here with eFootball. Clean slate. And I've spoken long enough about this, but yeah. All in all, eFootball looks fine, but I want to play it for myself, and I'm curious to see what they do with the formula going forward. So, next story. No Man's Sky, a game that was controversial, to say the least, when it was first released, and has since slowly gotten better and better and better and better. And for fuck's sake, that game is fantastic now. It's so good, and it's so big, it's so full of content, that every time I turn that game on, I always have to start a brand new game, because they're always adding stuff in, and I don't know where I am when I return to where I've been last, because they change so many things that it's like, what's the point in continuing where I am when I can just start again and see everything brand new again? That's how I play No Man's Sky. It sounds like sacrilege, but that's how I play that game. That's how I play Minecraft. It's how I play Terraria. It's how I play all those kind of games where they are open-ended and you can freely do what you like in any order you like. Those games allow me to start again and do something differently. That's the way I like to play those games. But with No Man's Sky, my god, the game has just gotten so much better. It is absolutely worth at least 50 quid. The game is a full price AAA game now, despite what it was like when it first came out. So much so, and this is what the story is is that for the first time, No Man's Sky has now, like at least since 5 years since its release, No Man's Sky started off with negative reviews on Steam. And it eventually got moderate, mixed reviews and positive. And now, for the first time in its existence, it has finally hit an average of mostly positive from the user review score on Steam. And that is a testament to how much No Man's Sky has improved over the years. It started as overwhelmingly negative and is now mostly positive. That is how you turn a game around and make it exactly what it should have been since day one. You know, I don't know what was going through the developer's mind. What's his name? Sean Murray. I don't know what was going through his mind when he was pitching this game. I don't know what he was thinking. I don't know his mindset. I don't know where he was, or no pun intended, what planet he was on when he was pitching this game to everyone in all these interviews. I don't want to say he was lying. I just want to say he was too ambitious for what he wanted in the space of time. And also, you've got to take into account, I think his office for where he was developing the game got flooded. A lot of stuff was destroyed. I would imagine he had to mostly start again and try again. That could have also been a factor. I don't want to give the guy too many excuses, but what I will say is that it doesn't really matter anymore. It doesn't matter anymore, because even though the game was released in a bare bones state, a lot of the reviews of that game are now moot. Completely irrelevant. There's no need to look at them unless you want to see a piece of history and compare it to what it is now, because what it is now is a superb video game. It is absolutely unbelievable how much that game has turned around over the past 5 years. And I applaud Hello Games for sticking to it, being consistent, releasing content after content after content, and free of charge. Free of charge. You know? You can still buy that game for 30, 40, 50 quid, and that is all you will pay. Everything else is gravy. The game is so packed full of content now that I can't even begin to... Do you know, at first it was like, I've done everything. First time I played the game, I had done everything within a day. And now, it's going to take me months, probably years, to experience everything in that game. That's how much this game has grown. And it's incredible. You know, you cannot go into No Man's Sky and still have the opinion that, oh, Sean Murray's a liar, oh, this game's... You cannot have that mindset. If you do, you are ignorant and bitter, and you have tunnel vision. There's no way in a million years you can sit there and justify saying this game is bad. You can't do it. You can't even justify saying that this game was, like, what's the word I'm looking for? Like, false advertised. You can't say that anymore. You just can't. You know? It's so much better than even what it was shown at first. The game is much better than what the trailer was showing when it was first shown to us. It's much better than that now. You know? At first it was... The game was not as good as what the trailer shown. Now, the trailer shown is not as good as what the game actually is. And I never thought I would say that. But I am proud of myself, because when I did a quick first impressions video of No Man's Sky, and I'm paraphrasing here, but I remember somewhat saying to myself and saying on camera is, I'm not going to trade it in. The game is not fun, but I'm going to stick to it because I have faith that this game will get better. It has to get better. You know, I said that I believe that this game will be more, and it has done so. It is so much more than what it was. It's so much better. No Man's Sky is amazing. Absolutely amazing. If you had one game to play forever, that's your game. Or that, or Minecraft, or anything like that, but that's your game. No Man's Sky is your game. If you're into survival games, like Minecraft, Terraria, any survival type game where you gather supplies and, the freedom to do what you like, No Man's Sky is your game. Absolutely 100%. I fully agree that this game is one of the biggest positive turnarounds in gaming history. One of, if not the biggest. So it's great that it's finally recognised as a top-notch game. Finally. I couldn't be happier, because I love No Man's Sky. I've always loved No Man's Sky. I was just really, really disappointed with its launch, and I really wanted to like it. And I did for a time, but I fell off of it. But then when the updates and the DLC started coming out, it just got better and better, and I loved it even more. And now it's just, it's overwhelming now. It's too big, I don't play that game that much because I just don't know what to do. That's not a bad thing. That's a good thing. I just don't have the time to dive into it like that anymore. But I at least I can jump in, do a couple of things, and then leave, and jump back in knowing I've got all this stuff I want. I've got the freedom to do so much in that game, and that makes me feel good. That I can jump into a game and know that there's so much more to do, and there's going to be even more. That game doesn't deserve to be the price it's at now. It deserves to be more. I never thought I would say that. But No Man's Sky has definitely turned around. And if you haven't played it, or if you were too bitter and stubborn to play it because of what it was like at launch, you need to turn your opinion around and try it again. Because if you don't like it now, then it's obvious you don't like that type of game, and that's fine. But if you do like that type of game, but you don't like No Man's Sky because of the launch fiasco, or it was more than a fucking fiasco, then you need to give it another chance. Because it's much better than that now. Consider this my recommendation that you go pick up No Man's Sky if you have even the slightest interest in that type of game. I recommend it. Wholeheartedly. Anyway. The next story. Horizon Forbidden West was going to be playable on both PS4 and PS5. And then it wasn't. And then it was. Sony confirms PS5 upgrade is still possible now. I know I'm late talking about this, but I might as well get it out the way. But back when the PS5 was in its first couple of months, people were asking how PS4 games are going to be played on PS5 and vice versa or whatever. And Sony said themselves that they will allow exclusive PlayStation games developed by PlayStation or PlayStation Studios. You will be able to buy the PS4 version, at least digitally if I'm not mistaken, and you will be eligible to upgrade to the PS5 version if you had a PS5. And they included the next God of War, or whatever it was, and they included Horizon Forbidden West, which is the sequel to Horizon Zero Dawn, which you probably already fucking know. And they included that in that list of games that will be upgradable to PS5. But then, recently, they walked it back and said, nope, you have to buy the PS4 version if you want to play it on PS4, and you have to buy the PS5 version if you want to play it on PS5. There is no in between, there is no upgrade, there's nothing like that. And it got an uproar. It got negative responses from everyone. Everyone was really annoyed about it. And then Sony recently came back and walked it forward again and said, no, look, it's exactly what it was originally. If you have the PS4 version, you are entitled to upgrade to the PS5 version if you have a PS5. So that's good news. I haven't looked at much on Horizon Forbidden West. I tend not to look at trailers and footage of new games especially if I'm interested in playing them. I'm the type of person that likes to go in semi-blind, where I don't know much about the game and I want to experience it firsthand with no knowledge of what you can do or anything like that. I like to discover things naturally because it's just like movies. Video games, especially anticipated ones, the trailers that come out, the videos that come out, they show too much. Do you know? They show way too much in my books. They show you how to play the game. They show you full-blown missions. They show too much. And I don't like that. I preferred it when it was just a simple trailer. Here's the game. Buy it. See what you think. At the very least, looking at reviews is the only way to really look at proper footage of a game, because not only are you looking at proper footage of the game, you're also listening to someone's opinion that's basically a guideline to should you buy this, see what you think, this is my opinion, go with that if you want, or take it with a grain of salt. So with Horizon Forbidden West, I've looked at little to no footage of that game, if any footage has been revealed, because I want to experience the game myself. I don't want to look at all these videos saying, here's what you can do in the game, this is a new feature in the game, and this is how you do it. I don't want to see that, because I don't want to play a game and say, I know how they play this already because this was shown. Oh, I remember that from the trailer. I remember that from this gameplay video. I remember that from this gameplay video. There's no surprises. There's no surprises. It's the same with movie trailers as well, where in my books they show too much of movies in trailers. They show too much content. They show way too much. I like the minimalistic approach. That's just me though. But yes, so Horizon Forbidden West can still be upgraded to PS5 if you have the PS4 version, so on and so forth. So that's good. Alan Wake, ladies and gentlemen. Alan Wake was a surprising one for me when it first came out. It came out around a time where I was still new to having an Xbox 360. I only had the internet about 5 years at this point, or something like that. So finding out what games were coming out and all that stuff, it's not something I actively looked on at the time. Looking up release dates, and I always went in. I was the old school type of person where I would go into a physical game shop and I would just see what was there. I never looked at the internet to see what was new out. I always went to the shop to see what was new out. And I went into the shop one day, GameStop, and I found Alan Wake. Didn't know what the game was, had no idea. I found a limited collector's edition, I bought it, and I brought it home, I played it, and loved it. Surprising game for me, loved it. It turns out that it was made by the same people that worked on Max Payne, which makes sense now. Supernatural elements and all that shit. But for years I've always wondered to myself, will they ever make a sequel to it? Will it get remastered? What will happen? Well, it's getting remastered. It's coming to modern consoles. The trailer was leaked, or not leaked, the game was announced sometime this week. I think it was yesterday. And it's coming to PS4, PS5, Xbox One, Xbox Series X, and PC. And I couldn't be happier because I've always wanted an excuse to go back and play that game, and now I have one. It's coming out on modern consoles. It's coming out on a PS4. It's coming out on Xbox One, both of which I have. I'm definitely going to buy that one, so I'm really excited for that. Alan Wake is one of those weird psychological horror games. A lot of supernatural elements, similar to that of Quantum Break and Control and the old Max Payne as well. So you'll see a lot of that style in there, especially when you compare it to Control. There's a lot of that style in there. So yeah, Alan Wake, brilliant game if you haven't played it. It's a psychological horror game. It's really good, and it's been remastered. Now you get a chance to play it. And now, finally, Nintendo Switch Online is getting Game Boy and Game Boy Color games. And I don't really know how to feel about this. At first, I was excited because I missed out on the Game Boy. Well, I didn't really miss out on it, I just didn't have one. But my cousin had one, and I would play his. And that was my exposure to the Game Boy. I would play Pokemon on it and all that, but I never experienced a Game Boy properly growing up. I never had one, so I never got to play any games except Pokemon, really. So I suppose I'm semi-excited for it. I'm a little bit bummed that I'm in the knowledge that this is Nintendo, and we've seen what they've done with the NES and SNES library. It's a good library of games, but there's also a lot of stinkers in there. And we are getting drip-fed games that are not interesting in any way, shape, or form. Even slightly interesting games. There's a lot of omissions from the SNES and NES offerings. Games that we really want to see that Nintendo do have a license to use, but will not use them. Such as Earthbound. Or Chrono Trigger. So, I'm interested to see what they do with the Game Boy library. Is it going to be the same deal? Or is it going to be stacked full of quality games? And maybe this is the start of them putting more games more frequently for the SNES and NES offerings. Or is it going to be the same shtick as we're going to get as we've been getting with the SNES and NES library? Is it going to be drip fed to us? Are we going to get a batch of games that are somewhat decent, and is it going to be like 2 shovelware games here, 3 okay games there, 4 games that you've never heard of, and is it going to be like one every 3 or 4 months? I don't know. But all I can say is that Nintendo Switch Online is off to a slow start. It's going to take years, I think, until it's on par with the Virtual Console at least. But I'm interested to see what games they put on it. Obviously, I think your obvious ones are going to be there, like Super Mario Land, Metroid 2. I don't know why you would put Metroid 2 there, but that's probably going to get put there. I don't know if Pokemon's going to get put there, despite the fact that Nintendo still own the license to use it. I don't know if they're going to put it on Switch. It would be good if they did, but I don't know. See, I'm in a weird relationship with the Pokemon games right now. I do this weird thing where it's like, I like playing games from the beginning. It's weird. When I play big franchises of games, I like to start from the beginning. I don't know why I do this. There's little reason to do it, but this is what I do with Pokemon games, right? And I know this is going off on a tangent, but I'll bring it back to Nintendo Switch Online. Just bear with me. At the moment, I have the new Pokemon games. What are they called? Pokemon Sword and Shield. I have Pokemon Sword, and I also have Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu. And I've played a lot of them, but I haven't really stuck to them because this is what I'm doing now. I have a Nintendo 3DS, and this is what I'm doing. The Nintendo 3DS, at least from what I'm seeing, allows you to play most of the older Pokemon games, including Pokemon Yellow, which is what I'm playing right now. And the reason I'm playing it right now is because I have this thing called a Pokemon Bank app. I think that's what it's called, where it lets you store Pokemon. Now, they have this integrated into the 3DS itself. I don't know how. I don't know how this works, but I think I looked at it properly. I think I read it right, and I think I'm doing it right. But you can transfer your Pokemon from Pokemon Yellow into this bank. And once I play the next iteration of that Pokemon game, which is Pokemon Crystal, if I'm not mistaken, like the second generation, I will be able to transfer those Pokemon from that application into the next generation of Pokemon. And eventually I'll get to pull those out and use them again. The same goes for the next generation, so on and so forth, until eventually I can transfer them from the bank into the newer Pokemon storage application, which is for the new games. And I think I'm doing it right. I don't know. At the moment, I'm playing Pokemon Yellow, and I haven't beaten it yet to do this, so I don't really know. I think I read everything I needed to read, and I think I'm doing it right, and I think it still works. Ultimately, what I'm saying is that I would like to have Pokemon trained up from the very beginning and just gradually pull them into other games the more I play, until I get to the later Pokemon games where I have amassed a huge collection of Pokemon at my disposal that I started from the beginning. That's what I'm trying to do. That's what I think I'm doing correctly. It's an ambitious idea that I want to try and do. And I don't know why I'm doing it. Because there's nothing wrong with jumping into the newer Pokemon games and starting from scratch. There's nothing wrong with that. One of my main reasons, I think, is that I have no attachment to any Pokemon past the first generation. I have no attachment to them. None whatsoever. Because I stopped watching Pokemon once the second generation came in. I just stopped. I just stopped watching it. I stopped watching it, I stopped playing the games, I just fell off of it. So I have no attachment to any of these other Pokemon. So what I'm doing is that I'm playing Pokemon Yellow, and I'm going to try and see if I can beat that, move on to the next one, play those games, pull Pokemon in from past games if I can do that, and just see, I just want to be able to experience as many different Pokemon as possible, so that I've got new favourites. Do you know what I mean? So that I've got new favourites that I can just have a proper experience, because I don't like these Pokemon games that come out and I don't play them until every 5 or 6 or 7 games, and then like I'll play that one alone. I won't get to experience any older Pokemon, just the newer ones, and I won't be attached to them, and then I'll get bored of it and fall off of it. So I'm basically trying to do this big epic journey from Pokemon Yellow right through to as much as I can, really, just to attach myself to newer Pokemon, because I'm a Gen 1 guy. And there's nothing wrong with that, in theory. It's fine if you only like Gen 1. My fiance only likes Gen 1, and she will not attach herself to any other ones past that. You know, I'm a millennial. I didn't stick to Pokemon after a certain point. And I want to change that, because I love Pokemon, especially Gen 1, but I want to love it more. I want to see more of it. I want to play more of it. I want to experience more characters, more Pokemon. I want to get addicted to it again. But it's a slow burning process. Do you know what I mean? And this brings me back to Nintendo Switch Online, whereby, what if they allow you to play Pokemon Blue, Red, whatever, Yellow? And what if eventually, in the next year or so, they allow you to play Game Boy Advance games? Or DS games? Do you know what happens then? Will more Pokemon get put in? Will they integrate them all together? I don't know. And that's what's frustrating me in the back of my mind, is that I'm a person that likes to play all my games in one place, but if I can't, I will have other options there. But I would prefer if I could play everything in one place. I want to play all my Nintendo games on my Switch. That's easier said than done. I get that. But I can dream. But that's what I would like to do. Same goes with the PlayStation 4 or PlayStation 5. When I get a PS5, I will be happy and comfortable knowing that I can still play PS4 games on that system. You can say that I can still play PS3 games on it, but I can't play any PS3 game I want. So, there's that. With the Xbox, it's fantastic knowing that I can play a vast majority of Xbox 360 games and Xbox originals. on my Xbox One. And if I eventually get an Xbox Series, I can do the exact same thing and I can play everything on one box. I don't need to hold on to the older box. Now, with the Xbox 360, I still hold on to it because there are a couple of games that I played that I cannot play on the Xbox One. Mainly the Forza games. Like, I really like Forza Motorsport 3 and 4, and I can't play them on an Xbox One. So I keep a hold of the 360 so that I can play them there. The same goes with the Guitar Hero games or anything that uses a peripheral. I cannot play that on an Xbox One, so I play it on the Xbox 360. So I've got that for that at least, but for most games, I've got them all on that console. It's not really the same with the Nintendo Switch, obviously, because it uses a proprietary cartridge to play your games. They're pulling a lot of the Wii U stuff into the Switch. That's happening. So at the very least, you could say that theoretically, spiritually, it plays almost all of your Wii U games because these Wii U games are getting ported over to the Switch. It started with Breath of the Wild as far as I'm concerned. You know, so much so that game came out on Switch and nobody really knew that it came out on Wii U. Because the Switch came out and killed Wii U immediately. So all the games are coming from Wii U to Switch, and it would be nice to see, for older consoles, get them put onto Nintendo Switch Online. You know, software emulation if you have to do that. Just put everything in one place. That includes Nintendo GameCube, Nintendo 64, Game Boy Color, Game Boy Advance, DS. Just put everything on Switch. Find a way to make it work. Maybe not so much the DS. That would be difficult because the DS is the DS. You can't do that. But for everything prior, just put it all on Switch. Software emulation. Nintendo can do it. I don't know why they're taking so fucking long to grow this service. It's been around for 3 years? 4 years, I think. When did the Switch come out? 2017? And then was it a year later? Or 2 years later we started getting SNES and NES games on it, Nintendo Switch Online. So I want to say 4 years. 3 years, maybe. 2.5 years. I don't know. But I would like to just put everything in one place. That's all I'm asking. This I went way off on a tangent there, but it all made sense in the end. Yeah. That's pretty much all the topics I've got in regards to newsworthy stuff. So where have I been? Why did it take me 2 months to make another episode? Well, there's a few factors. Well, obviously the first one being I've got a short attention span. I put my focus on other things. I kind of forget about the thing I was doing before. But I'm like Billy Connolly. Let me explain. Billy Connolly, obviously, if you don't know, is a Scottish comedian, and his style involves telling long-winded stories with a funny outcome. Or just long, funny stories in general. And he has this habit when he does his shows where he will go off on a tangent and go off on a tangent for about 10-15 minutes, half an hour, but eventually he'll always come back and resume exactly where he left off from the previous topic. He doesn't do it deliberately, it just happens. That's the way he does that's his shtick, that's his style. It's very dynamic, you know? And I'm the same when it comes to my hobbies, my interests. I will do something for a long time, and then I'll go off and do something else and forget about the thing I was doing until maybe another month or two. I'll come back exactly where I left off and just continue what I was doing. Case in point, The Witcher 3. I started playing that around May or June, and I was playing it for a good few weeks. I started to really enjoy it properly for the first time. I got really far in it, and then I fell off of it. I fell off of it because I wanted to go back to making content again. And it was around this point I had already made my last episode of the GB Gaming podcast. And that was around the time I last played The Witcher 3. And I was like, do you know what? It's been too long since I made a review. I'm going to go make a review while it's fresh in my mind. That being the Master System review. And I kind of just forgot about doing podcasts at that point because I'm focusing on doing this thing now. And that's what happened. I went off and I started recording footage for my Master System review. And then that led to me doing more Twitch streams again. I haven't done a Twitch live stream in about a year, so I started doing that again. And then that led to me doing a live stream of Heart of Darkness, where I played the fucking shit out of that game from start to finish over the course of, I want to say 2 days. Where the first day I might have gotten an hour into the game, and then I had to change disc, and that was when I stopped it. And then when I went back, I decided to have a drink while playing it, and fucking hell, there's a lot of regrets I have about this. But it's on Twitch. You can go and watch it if you like. I personally don't want to even look at it, because I was drinking whiskey playing that game. And for God's sake, I did this stupid thing where, now, Heart of Darkness is a cinematic platformer, right? Do you know what? I'll come back to it, right? So, anyway, so where have I been? So, aside from doing that, which I'll get back to, because that'll be part of the what I'm playing segment. So, where I've been? So, just making reviews, making content, and I've been watching wrestling the last few weeks, and like the last couple of weeks have been the best piece of wrestling content that I've seen in a long time. I am an AEW fan at the minute. I've been watching it since, I didn't watch it since the beginning, but about a year after its inauguration, if that's the word you want to look at, if that's the word you want to use. Since it started, it took me about a year before it grabbed my attention and I started to watch it myself. So what I did was I started watching it a year later, and I watched every episode from episode 1, like from the first pay-per-view to the next pay-per-view to the first episode of their new weekly show at the time. And I've been watching every single piece of content that they have released, almost every single piece of content that they have released since day one. And the last couple of weeks, the last month, has been the best piece of wrestling content that I've ever seen in a while. A few favourites of mine, and a couple of favourites, and a few people that used to be on WWE have made their jump to AEW, and to much, huge fanfare. Like, we've been anticipating these particular wrestlers for a while. I don't want to stick here and talk about fucking wrestling for ages. I understand this is not a wrestling podcast. I just want to get this out. This is part of why I haven't been doing any podcast episodes. I've been watching a lot of wrestling, and like a lot of wrestlers that I missed out on or I had a lot of respect for in WWE have left WWE and they've came to AEW. That includes CM Punk, Ruby Riott or Ruby Soho, Adam Cole, and Bryan Danielson, also known as Daniel Bryan. They've all joined AEW. Their latest pay-per-view was on over the weekend, and it was probably the best pay-per-view they've ever had. Now, that could be recency biased, and me still being high on everything that's happened, but nevertheless, the past few weeks has been great for wrestling fans, or at least AEW fans. I've really enjoyed it lately. So I've been doing that. I've been watching a lot of wrestling, and also I was off work for most of the summer, mostly June and mostly July, but I came back, I went back to work in August, and my schedule has changed as well. So not only have I not been doing much podcasts because of that, but I've also not been playing much as well. I'll get into that in just a minute. But I'm back to work now, but my boss has actually changed up my schedule now. My shifts are all over the place now. So this week started, or last week, it was, I now get up at 4:30 or 5 o'clock in the morning, and I will go and do a shift from, this was last week, I did a shift from 5:30 till 7 o'clock. And I would come home and I would go to bed and I would get up in the afternoon and I would go and do another shift in the afternoon. And then I would come home at 7 o'clock in the evening and that would be me, tired. And now I start a little bit later in the morning, but not that much. I still get up at about 4:30, 5 o'clock. But my shift is now 6:30 till 8:30. And I'll come home and I may or may not be tired. I may or may not go back to sleep. And I will go back out at 2:30 to start at 3 o'clock and not come home till 7:15. So my work hours have been increased in total because I do work on weekends now. And that gives me less time to do content and to play video games, I guess. That's up to me how I want to spend the free time I have between shifts. That's up to me. I get that. You know, if I want to do the content, I'll do the content. But with new things comes adjustment, and I have to adjust and re-evaluate my free time and what I do with it. Because now it's getting to a point where I'm no longer getting up late in the morning and then just going straight to do an afternoon shift. I am now awake all morning after doing a 2-hour shift, and I may or may not be really tired because it all depends on how much sleep I get the night before. And basically what I'm saying is going forward, the content I'm going to be making is not certain. It was never certain to begin with. I don't like putting schedules on everything and saying, I'm going to be doing this on this date. I'm going to be doing this on this date. I'm going to be doing this on this date. I like to do it gradually and dynamically, so it changes every now and then. And that's healthy to me. I like doing that, because if I stick to doing the same thing day in, day out, day in, day out, day in, day out, it ends up feeling like work and feeling like I have to get this done by this time, and I've given myself deadlines. The only deadline I really give myself in regards to me creating content is Halloween. Ever since 2017, I think, or oh god, no, it could have been 2018. I've always tried to do at least one scary game for October in regards to reviews. That's what I've been trying to do every year, and for the most part, I've done fairly okay. You know, I've reviewed Resident Evil. I don't think that was Halloween actually. I think it was Forbidden Siren. I've done Forbidden Siren 2, and Manhunt, and I'm nearly sure I did a Resident Evil game. I really don't remember. I don't really pay much attention. So for Halloween, I've done Forbidden Siren, and then it was Forbidden Siren 2, and then it was Manhunt. Okay, so I've only done 3 Halloween specials. And I don't know why I call them Halloween specials. There's nothing special about them. I don't do anything different from any other review that I do, really. I call it a special because it's going to be on Halloween. There will be one on Halloween. And I may or may not dive into a few things about it that I don't normally dive into. But basically, the special is that there's always going to be at least one horror game reviewed every year. And it's always going to be on Halloween. And that's the only thing I give myself a deadline for. And it's quite stressful. The Forbidden Siren 2 review was a spur of the moment one, I think. Oh no, it wasn't. It was the first Forbidden Siren. Because I was initially not going to do a Halloween special, because I had already reviewed Resident Evil that year. I didn't want to do 2 horror games in 1 year. But I said to myself, you know what, I'll do a horror game review. But something happened along the way where it just wouldn't upload, I think, or something like that. Some technical stupid thing happened where I couldn't get the video to go up onto YouTube. I had to go back and fix it, and ended up leaving it a week. I think it was a week after Halloween that I got that video out. So my first Halloween special was not actually on Halloween. It was on November 8th. So the video was kind of broke. I think that's why I left it. Yeah, I'm looking at the description here. It says that I originally created this review a few days before Halloween, and I had no idea that the video was damaged. The whole screen was black for half of it, and there was no audio. That's why the video was only released in November 8th. Okay, so there was a technical issue. That was why. So, yeah. So that's why I don't really like doing deadlines, because I muddle myself up. I get myself mixed up. I'll probably try and do some sort of Christmas video. Not Christmas themed, just something related to Christmas, like a game that I might have gotten on Christmas, or a console that I might have gotten on Christmas. You know, I could do something like that. Maybe a console review every Christmas. I don't know. It's just, these ideas come spinning in my head, and then I'll think about doing it, and then I won't do it. And then maybe I'll think of something else out of the blue, and I'll go and do that before it leaves my brain. You know, before it leaves my subconscious. Or in case I forget. So that's what happened with my Master System review. I never done a console review before, but I remember my missus got a Master System 2 off of eBay. I bought it for her, and she got a bundle of games. And I remember saying to myself, I said, you know, I've never actually reviewed a Master System game before. I was originally going to just review Sonic the Hedgehog, I think, or Sonic 2, because that's the only Master System game that I was familiar with. Well, I played it on Game Gear, and that's the one I would have played, and she had that on Master System, and I remember not liking it that much, so I said, I'll review that. But then I thought to myself, I'm doing a lot of talking about this bloody console. Why don't I just do a Master System review? And just review the particular one that my missus got. And because I've only really done, it wasn't so much a console review as much as it was just a bundle of games I got one day during Christmas, and that was my PlayStation 1 that I got in 1998. I reviewed that, not so much the console but the games that I got, and that ultimately ended up with the following episode being a review of Heart of Darkness. That was around Christmas time. So where am I going with this? So I go off on, like I said, I go off on a fucking tangent. So I've been thinking of things to review, thinking of things to content to put out, and not sticking to a particular schedule, which is why I only kind of stick to like 4 or 5 reviews a year now, if that, maybe 3 reviews a year. Do you know what I mean? Because it does take a lot of time. And I've got to pick what to do with my time now. This is one of these situations where right now, as I'm speaking right now, I did my 2-hour shift at 6:30 this morning. And I came home and I immediately says, you know what, I'm going to do an episode of this podcast because I haven't done one in 2 months. I'm wide awake. Nobody's at home. I don't have anything to do. I've got time. Just do it. I've got a cup of coffee right next to me. I'm awake. Just do it. I've got things I want to talk about. And that's what I did. And that's where I've been prior, just readjusting my life schedule, doing things differently, playing different things or whatever. And speaking of playing, what have I been playing? Nothing much. Nothing much since the last episode of this podcast. Like I said, I was playing The Witcher 3. And I just stopped. And I went back to doing reviews again. The only game I really stuck to was Heart of Darkness. I'll get to that in just a second. Other games I've been playing have been mostly PS1 to PS2 games, but I haven't been sticking to them. I've mainly just been live streaming them, putting them up on Twitch, and then playing something else. So I've been playing a number of games, technically, but I haven't beaten anything. The only game I beat was Heart of Darkness. Now I can talk about it. So I live streamed Heart of Darkness there back about 2 weeks ago. And I started playing the first disc one day, and then I left it and says I will return the following day and play the second disc, and that's what I did. And the second disc I started, and I said, you know what? I'm going to be on my own for the remainder of the evening because my missus was off babysitting the nephew. I had the house to myself all night. It was a Saturday. I think it was Friday. Could have been Friday. But anyway, nevertheless, I said, you know what? I'm going to go to my local store. I'm going to buy a bottle of whiskey. I'm going to buy a bottle of Iron Brew, which is a Scottish soft drink for those of you not in the know. And I'm going to come home. I'm going to boot up Twitch. I'm going to boot up the PlayStation. And I'm going to play Heart of Darkness. I'm going to beat it live. And that is exactly what I did, but not before getting fucking pissed out of my head. And I'm quite embarrassed by it, to be honest, because you can look at the video. It's on Twitch. I don't know how long it's going to be there for because I haven't actually saved it as a highlight. I don't think I will. But what I did was, so I started the second disc, and I said to myself, right, I'll have a few drinks. I'll get gradually drunk as I'm playing, which means the game will be more fun as I'm playing, and we'll just have a good time. Now, don't get me wrong, nobody fucking tuned in to watch, maybe 2 or 3 people, but then they left. I don't get much of an audience on Twitch. I'm not very good at plugging my content. I try to, but I'm not really, I don't know, I'm not really good at it. I don't really care, to be honest. I just like making content, as opposed to advertising content. But I digress. So I went on, started drinking, and it was fine. It was fine for the first fucking hour or so. But then I had a stupid idea. Now, like I said, I'll go back to what I was doing. I was describing Heart of Darkness to you. So Heart of Darkness is a cinematic platformer released in 1998 for the PlayStation 1. It plays very, very similarly to Another World, or Out of This World if you're not European. And it's a screen-by-screen type of side-scroller. It's not really a side-scroller, but you know what I mean. And it's difficult. It is inherently difficult. And it's a lot of trial and error. Now, I know how to play the game, but when you've got a drink in you, you tend to make a lot of mistakes because you lose focus. But there was a point in the game where I kept dying at a certain point, and the checkpoint system in that game is it's generous. It is generous. It is quite generous, but sometimes when you're just before the next checkpoint, that matters. Because if you die just before the next checkpoint, obviously you're going to go back to the previous checkpoint. And this one particular moment, I kept dying and going back to the previous checkpoint, and it was quite far. And then I finally done it. And I finally passed that part I was stuck on, but then I died again. And I said to myself, please do not go back to that checkpoint I was on. Thankfully, it started me right where I died. That was the checkpoint. So that was a relief. So I said to myself, stupidly, here's what I'm going to do. Let's play a drinking game, I said. For every checkpoint that I get that relieves me of stress, such as what I just mentioned, I will take a shot of whiskey. A straight shot. Because at this point, I'm drinking a cocktail. Well, you could call it a mixer. I'm drinking whiskey with Iron Brew. So I'm drinking whiskey mixed with a sugary soft drink. You know, it makes it last longer, basically, is what I'm saying. So that's what I was doing. And then I said to myself, I will take a straight dry shot of whiskey for every single checkpoint that I get that relieves me of stress. Not knowing that the more drunk I got, the more mistakes I kept making, but the more relief I got from, and I drank a lot of shots. I had a full bottle when I started. The bottle is now sitting under my sink, and it is almost empty. I'd say I've got maybe 3 shots left out of it, and it's gone. So that's how much I drank. I drank almost a full bottle of whiskey with a sugary drink, and it didn't help. It made me drunk and hyper and loud. And I just started making an utter tit of myself. Now, thankfully, nobody was here in the house. Nobody was on stream watching me. But I would imagine I was annoying the fuck out of the neighbours. But I really don't know. But what started as a fun session turned into me playing worse, but getting more hyper, screaming at the TV because I kept dying, until I hit this point where I didn't care how much I was dying. I wasn't concentrating anymore. And then I just started talking shite. I started singing. I started singing Irish songs. I started singing football anthems. I started just singing shite terribly. And then by the end of the video, I was hammered. Absolutely hammered. And this was made even worse, by the way. A friend of mine who I haven't spoke to in about, I want to say 7 years. She's a good friend. I've been a distant friend that I've known since she was a young teenager, I suppose. Because her brother is my best friend over here. And she got married last week. Funnily enough, she got married in the same place I'm getting married next year. But nevertheless, she got married last year, and this happened. I found out that she got married the moment I finished my stream, or the moment I get to the end of my stream, the end of beating the game, I find out that my friend got married. And now, this is the type of drunk I am. I'm not an angry drunk. I'm not a violent drunk. I can start off by being a happy drunk. I'm loud, I sing, but by the end of the night, if anything remotely sad or nice happens in my vicinity, I am an emotional drunk. I fucking weep like a bitch for nothing. And that time, when I finished playing the game, I found out that my friend got married, and that just had to happen when I was on stream. It just had to happen when I was drunk out of my face. I went on this half-hour long, whatever the opposite of rant is, this half-hour long speech about how proud I was of this girl. And I went off and off and off and off on one. I was so drunk. It's still there. If you want to go and watch it, I don't recommend it, but it's there. But oh, I was so drunk. But it's probably the last time I'm going to get that drunk on stream. From now on, if I do intend on having a few drinks, I will drink beer, and only fucking beer. Or at the very least, I will not take shots of whiskey like an idiot. Slow it down. But that was 5 hours on disc 2. That game is at best 2 hours. The whole game. Not just the second disc, the whole game is 2 hours. It takes 2 hours to beat if you know what you're doing. I know what I'm doing, but not when I've got a drink in me. It took me 5 hours on the second disc. So a total of about 6 or 7 hours it took me to beat that game. Ridiculous. You know, absolutely ridiculous. Unacceptable. So what I've done is I've made that a potential new episode of Let's Play. Or Just Play, should I say. I went, and it's not going to be out until the 25th of September. That's when I have it scheduled to release. So I've obviously had to cut certain bits. Like I said, I went and I edited the fuck out of this Let's Play. A lot of drivel, a lot of fucking padded shite of me just being drunk. All the singing has been completely cut. Basically, long story short, I cut a 7-hour video down to almost 2 hours. And it will be released on the 25th of September. I don't know why I picked that date. I tried to just pick a date that was way off that I didn't have to think about. I might as well just keep it there. You do still see me gradually get drunk, but I cut out all the stupid shite in between and the big long fucking monologue about my friend at the end. That's gone. But it's on Twitch if you want to see it. Uncut, unedited, all of that is all... It's all on Twitch. But I don't know how long it'll stay on Twitch because I am not keeping it there. It will go when it goes because Twitch doesn't keep your videos on your backlog for a very long time. I think it's after about 5 or 6 months. Then they start to get rid of the videos unless you save them in your highlights. I will not be saving that in my highlights. Absolutely not. So if you want to look at it, it's all there. But be warned, I'm an idiot. A big fucking soppy idiot when I have a lot of drink in me. So what else? So yeah, that's one of the things I've been doing in between the last episode and this episode. I got GB Reviews episode 21, like I said, the Master System review. And the second I finished doing that review, I immediately went and done my next review. Immediately. The trailer's obviously out. You may or may not have seen it. It's nothing special. It's 30 seconds long. It won't be out until the 10th of September, so 2 days from now as I make this episode. And I'm really excited about it. I'm not going to say what it is. There's a little hint at the end of the trailer that may or may not be obvious to some people. But it's... Yeah, I'm really excited about it. I've always wanted to review this particular game for a couple of years. It's been out for about, I want to say 6 years or something like that, or maybe longer. And it's something that I never really looked at for a while because I thought it was too gimmicky. You know, I thought it's something based on this one thing, and I don't know if I want to cover it because it just looks too gimmicky. But I finally played it, and it was absolutely fantastic. So I decided to review it. It's based on something that I've always had a love for a long time. I'll give you a clue, really, if you've not. It's episode 22 of GB Reviews. The game in question. It's not just the game. It's a whole thing, really. That's what the review is, and that's all I'm going to say. What else have I been doing? I've been playing Heart of Darkness. I've been reviewing new content. New episodes of Just Play are in the works. I'm going to keep them until October because I want to have some content going forward. There's live streams that I've been doing as well. I don't know if I'm going to convert those and put them on YouTube as well. I might not. I'll see how I feel. In terms of games that I've been playing, like I said, I've been playing a bunch of different games, not sticking to one. I soft-modded my PS3 for the fun of it. Now I can play PS2 games on it, so that's what I've been doing there as well. The emulation isn't great on some of them, but overall it is a pretty cool thing that I've done. It basically turns my slim PS3 into a fat one, because the fat one, well, spiritually spiritually, the fat PS3, did I say PS3 or PS4? I meant PS3. The fat PS3 originally could play PS2 and PS1 discs using hardware emulation, but then they changed it to only using software emulation to play PS1 games, and no emulation whatsoever to play PS2 games unless they were PS2 classics that you downloaded from the PSN store, which there were a lot of, in fairness. There was a lot of quality games on that. Even Dynasty Warriors was there, you know? Never thought that would be on the PlayStation Store, ever, but it was there. And there's a lot of games that I really wanted to play on PS3, just for the convenience of it. Like I said, I like to play everything in one system, and the PS3 was one I wanted to play everything on, at least up until that point. So I soft-modded my PS3, so now I can use my PS2 discs and install them onto the PS3 and play them as backups, which is just handy as hell. Obviously, I've got to make sure that it's not connected to the internet, because I don't want to get banned from Sony, because they will do that if they find out that your console has been modified in any way. So in order to avoid that headache, I have two PlayStation 3 consoles. I actually have about 3 PS3 consoles, 4 in total, but 2 of them actually belong to me. I've got 2 Super Slim ones. One Super Slim is console banned. I didn't do anything to it. It was console banned when I bought it. It was pre-owned. It was out of a trade-in pawn shop. So that sucked. So it rendered it completely useless, and I mean completely useless because I actually cannot soft mod this console whatsoever. So how it got banned, I actually have no idea. I have no idea what it was that got banned. At first, I thought it was me that got banned, my account, but I was able to sign in on PS4 and all that and everything else, so it was fine there. So I don't know what the hell was put on this Super Slim because you can barely mod the thing. I don't know what was on it. So I bought another one. I bought another Super Slim PS3. And that's my main PS3 now, where I play everything officially, where I play everything legitimately, everything that I want in regards to my profile is all on that. And the Slim PS3, which is originally my fiance's, she allowed me to soft mod it and just put whatever I want on it because she doesn't use it anymore. So she gave that to me. So I'm using that with no internet connection whatsoever to play my backups. And it's really handy. But in terms of games I've actually sat down to play, besides Heart of Darkness, I started Spelunky on Switch. Finally. I've been waiting to play this game for a long time. I wanted it to come to Switch. It is a Switch-ass game. That game is such a Switch game. And if you haven't played it, it's a roguelike, is what it's called. And it's got permadeath, and it's basically survive the game as long as you can until you die, and then try again. And that's where I'm having problems. Now, I don't mind, I like roguelikes. I like them, they're good games. They encourage you to get better. They encourage you to try and try again. That's the rule, basically, of a roguelike. But the roguelikes I've played in the past, roguelikes that I've played before this one. There is something, like, I'm going to use Dead Cells as an example, or Dark Souls as an example, maybe. I don't know. But with these kind of games, you die, you start again. But when you die, there are certain things you can keep that you can bring forward. And Dead Cells does it, interestingly, where you can pick a weapon. If you pick up a weapon during your playthrough and then die, I think you can pick up that same weapon when you start again. Things carry over, your gold carries over. Things carry over in Dead Cells. I can't remember what specifically, but that's what that game style is. You can bring things back and carry them forward until you have more things. Do you get what I'm saying? Spelunky doesn't do this. At least I don't think it does. And that's where I'm having trouble with it. Because so far, all I'm seeing in the game is you start in this mine, this cave, right? And you make it to the next level. And in between that, you're exploring the level, picking up gold, picking up damsels, killing enemies, staying alive, don't get killed, and making it to the next level. It can take between 30 seconds or 5 minutes. It depends on how long you spend on that particular level. I don't know why you would spend 5 minutes on it. It doesn't even take 2 minutes to get everything in there and get out. But anyway, I digress. So I've been doing that. And then I'll get to the next level and I'm doing basically the same thing. And the more levels I do, the more things are introduced. More enemies are introduced. More puzzles are introduced. More hazards are introduced. And it's just that. And then if you die, you can buy weapons as well. You can buy different items and you can bring them with you. But then when you die, you go straight back to the beginning with nothing. Nothing you picked up carries back. If you upgraded anything, it goes straight back to zero. Nothing carries over. Absolutely nothing carries over. And that's where I'm struggling. Like, nothing is sticking. Like, it's a fun game, but I I don't know where the progression is. The only progression I can see is your journal in the game, which is where you can see what enemies you've encountered, how many times you've killed those enemies, how many times those enemies have killed you, what items you have discovered, how much they cost when you decide to go buy them. No money carries over, so you die, you start with no money. You have to go and pick up all the money again. There's nothing permanent so far. It's aside from the journal, and I don't know how long it's going to take for me to actually find the part of the game that sticks. It's a very difficult game, and it's not difficult. It's not difficult. It's only as difficult as you make it. If you try and rush the game or rush the level, you're going to fuck up at least once. If you don't, try not to sprint. There is a sprint button on that game that is very enticing to use, but don't use it, because unless you know exactly what you're doing, you're going to run into problems. So take it slow as you're moving to the next section of the level. I think there's a point in the game where you can make it to another level and you can start from that level going forward. It's like a checkpoint. And I think that's where the progression system is. I don't know. I tried to look it up and I tried to find what it is that makes the game stick, but I just can't find it. And a lot of people are having this problem with Spelunky. It's a game I like the look of. It's a game I enjoy the gameplay of. The actual gameplay itself, controlling the character feels good. It's a good game, but I don't know where the loop is. I can't find it yet. So I'm struggling to play that at the minute. I'm even getting to a point where I'm bringing it into work with me. I'm not only playing it at home, I'm bringing it to work and I'm playing it on downtime or breaks. And because I really want to like this game. I really, really do want to like this game. I've always wanted to play it. I've played it before, but I never sat down to it because I'm like, I would rather play this on Switch. I have it on PS4. I never played it on PS4, but I have it on Switch now. And it's like I was going to get this and Spelunky 2. But now that I'm finding it difficult to get into Spelunky 1, I don't know if I will pay €20 for the second game. IGN's Damon Hatfield goes on about it all the time, or at least he has done in the past. And it was basically him talking about the game a lot on various different episodes of Game Scoop, which is IGN's weekly gaming podcast, that drew me more to the game itself, and I don't know what he sees in it. It's a very short attention span type of game. I get that. It should suit me down to the ground, but it only suits me a little bit. I like the gameplay. I like the visuals. I like the style. I just don't know where the loop is. I don't know at what point am I going to find it and go, there it is. There's the bit that sticks. I haven't found it yet. So until I find it, I'm going to be struggling. I don't really have much of a backup. I don't know what to play next. Or if I don't find any enjoyment out of it, I don't know what to play next. So, yeah. Wow, for 1 hour and 24 minutes, I sure did a lot of drivelling. So, I'm going to leave it there. And by the way, my Postman just arrived. And I'm really, really annoyed. At the moment, I'm trying to collect a bunch of movies. Specifically, the studio, I don't know how to pronounce this. The studio Ghibli or Ghibli collection. It's a bunch of anime films, mostly directed by Hayao Miyazaki, such as Spirited Away, Ponyo, My Neighbor Totoro, Porco Rosso, Kiki's Delivery Service, all those films. I'm collecting those at the minute, or at least I'm trying to. And I was due 2 DVDs today, which was Porco Rosso and Kiki's Delivery Service. They arrived. But when my postman arrived, he was putting them through the letterbox. I was in the bathroom at this point, so I can't leave. I'm stuck here. I'm stuck. I can't move. Sorry, mate. Stop ringing the doorbell. I'm not home, as far as you're concerned. Stop ringing the doorbell. And also stop trying to push it through the letterbox. Just put it over the fence like everyone else does. No, he's not doing that. No, he's shoving that in there. He's forcing this fucking parcel through the letterbox to the point where I stopped doing the toilet. I came out, went downstairs, opened the door. Hello, how are you? He's there telling me, sorry, I was trying so hard to put it through the letterbox and I just couldn't. And I'm sitting there thinking to myself, why didn't you just slip it under the fence? This is a very safe neighbourhood. Everyone's really nice to each other. Nobody's going to steal it. You know this. You've been delivering here for a while. Just put it under the fence. I will get it. Just put it somewhere safe. And the reason why I'm getting annoyed at this is because when I opened the parcel and looked at the sleeves of the game, the films, they're dented and a little bit squashed. Because he tried to shove them forcefully into the fucking letterbox. What if that had been something fragile, you know what I mean? Now, I'm not too annoyed about it, I guess. This is just the outer sleeve of these movies. These boxes, they're still in the plastic wrap underneath. And I can still decipher what the films are. It's just the bottom bit of the CDs, the cases, they all come with a cardboard case, a cardboard sleeve, and they're slightly damaged at the bottom. Caused by the impatient postman that couldn't put it through the fucking letterbox instead of putting it over the fucking fence. But whatever. They're here now. I have them. My collection is slowly building. I'm really excited to watch them all. I plan on watching all of these numbered entries back to back. So I'm really excited to do that. And I think that will do for this episode of the GB Gaming Podcast. A lot of nonsense thrown out on this episode, mainly because I just really didn't know what to talk about because it's been 2 months and I've lost all touch from the gaming social sphere, as it were. But yeah. I've got new ideas for October, but I'm not sure what to cover for the Halloween episode this year. Like I said, I'm trying to deadline myself here, but it stresses me out a little bit. I've already got a couple of Let's Plays scheduled for October. I'm going to see if I can do more of those and get those out. Because I want to do more than just Halloween episodes. I want to do more than a Halloween review of a game for October. You know, I want to kind of theme October in some way. I want to do something just for October. I don't know, play a spooky game or something. I don't play enough of them. You know, I'm using a camera now. I'm using Twitch and all that. Why don't I scare myself shitless on camera? I don't know. It's an idea. I've got something on the works. I'll see what I can pull out. But nevertheless, we are at 1 hour and 28 minutes, I think. And that will do it. So, thanks very much for taking the time to listen to this. If you enjoyed it, then you know what to do. And if you didn't enjoy it, then I don't know what to tell you. This is what my content is. You're more than welcome to come back. But if you don't like it, then I guess I'll see you again. I don't know. This is stupid. Fuck's sake. Anyway, yeah, so thanks very much for taking the time to listen to this. And if you enjoyed it, you know what to do. If not, you also know what to do. I don't know when the next episode of this podcast will come out. It used to be fairly consistent, like once a week. But now I don't even fucking know. Because I've got so much other things I want to try out. I'll come back when the time is right, or when the time feels right. And until then, thanks again, and check out the rest of my YouTube channel, I guess. The website is obviously youtube.com/gamerboy, that's GAMERBHOY. It'll come up, no problem. And if you like what you see, consider subscribing. There'll be more content going forward. Don't know when. It's all over the place at the minute. Nothing's set in stone, nothing's scheduled, nothing is consistent, it's all random. Things will come out when they come out. I've got stuff in the back burner waiting to get pumped out, hopefully, by the end of the year, so we'll see where we go from there. But until then, have a good day, have a good week, stay safe, and I'll see you next time. Goodbye.